Appreciate your presence. We have Lauren Torriello, our Development Director. We also have Melissa Lorobadir, our Associate Development Director, Special Events and Marketing. And I will be here with you to assist you today during Mary Connolly's presentation. Before we get started, I want to review a few housekeeping items and let you know how you can participate in today's session. I've taken a screenshot here to show you an example of an attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your computer desktop in the upper right corner. You have joined today's webinar listening through your telephone by default. If you would like to use your computer speaker system, just locate your audio pane and select microphone and speakers. Here we go. That's it. You also have the ability to ask questions using your questions pane. Simply type in your questions and click send. Here you go, this one. At the end of the presentation, we will do a Q&A session and take as many questions as we have time for. If you no longer have the time to answer your questions, we will email all of them to our speaker and we will forward you the answers at a later time. Please mute your audio device during the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and archived and can be accessed from our website, www.bergenvolunteers.org. Our first webinar for 2016 is scheduled on Wednesday, January 16, 2016. Oh no, January 20, sorry. January 20, 2016. Our featured speaker, Mr. Eli Ander, will discuss the one word that is missing in your org chart that would entirely change your organization. So watch out for it. So now I just want to greet you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Thank you, and let me give you Lauren. Lauren?
Good afternoon, and thank you, BM, for that introduction. Really quickly, a little background about who we are at the Volunteer Center. The Bergen Volunteer Center inspires, trains, and develops volunteers and leaders to strengthen our community through meaningful service and effective community engagement. In 2016, the Bergen Volunteer Center will celebrate 50 years of service to our community. Our ability to adapt in an ever-changing economic and social environment has been and will continue to be the key to our enduring success. We look forward to ensuring that nonprofits, corporations, and organizations can expand their capacity to provide valuable opportunities for the community to get involved and give back. For this audience specifically, I would like to add that we will be accepting applications for our next Bergen Leads cohort, the class of 2017. Bergen Leads is a year-long learning and leadership experience for adults who either live or work in Bergen County. In virtually every sector of the economy, business, nonprofit, government, education, or religious, there is one common worry. Where is the next generation of leaders coming from? Bergen Leads was developed to help people with leadership experience through their job or through community involvement, learn about the complex community that is Bergen County, and essentially retool your professional self. Bergen Leads will also help you learn about your own leadership style and develop and expand your capacity for leadership. This experience is highly interactive. The curriculum is overseen by a team of community leaders with input and direction from William Pat Schuber, the former Bergen County executive and a professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Lynn Allgrant, the CEO of the Bergen Volunteer Center, is also responsible for the leadership and trusteeship portions of this program. I encourage all of you to look into Bergen Leads if you haven't already, and if you have any questions, to reach out to Deanne. On to our speaker today, Mary Connolly. Mary, thank you so much for being here, and a quick bio and brief background. Mary provides consulting services to startup and transitioning nonprofit organizations in the areas of assessment, strategic planning, board development, fundraising, cause marketing, and special event organization, drawing on nearly 3 decades of advertising, marketing, new business development, fundraising, and nonprofit executive experience. Ms. Conley has served as a member of senior leadership teams responsible for strategic planning, revenue generation, financial management, organizational development, staff management, and program operations in several nonprofit and consulting positions for the past 19 years. She has developed new business initiatives and strategic alliances across all organizations and positions, and has worked collaboratively with a variety of constituents at all levels. She was also responsible for increasing all areas of funding, including government, foundation, and individual giving. Professionally, Mary has served as a Chief Development Officer, Director of Development and Communications, and a CEO. She started her career in the nonprofit sector in 1996 with Bergen County's United Way, where she served as the Vice President for Strategic Partnerships. Prior to that, she worked in the corporate sector, specializing in sales and marketing. Ms. Conley has a successful record in event management. Mary also has developed cause marketing classes for NYU's Center for Philanthropy and has conducted numerous lectures and workshops on the subjects of cause marketing and corporate sponsorships. A true expert in this field, we are delighted and especially lucky to have Mary here with us this afternoon. Mary?
Hi, how are you? Welcome everyone, and I'm very happy to be here with all of you today. I just want to make sure. Can you see the PowerPoint presentation? Good. Okay. Just want to make sure I got my technology going well. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on your questions and answer them as we're going along. If not, I will try to get to them at the end. And like Lauren said, I will also provide email if something doesn't get addressed before we're done. I want to make sure everybody has what they came for today. So, the question that we need to answer before we can go on to the how-to is what is cause marketing? Probably one of the best definitions that I have seen comes from a book called Brand Spirit, How Cause-Related Marketing Builds Brands, that was published in 1999, and that was about the time that I was developing my cause marketing class for NYU. So I've been using that ever since. And that definition is cause marketing can be defined as a strategic positioning tool which links a company or brand to a relevant charity or cause in a partnership for mutual benefit. Cause marketing can enhance corporate reputation, raise brand awareness, increase customer loyalty, build brands, create press coverage, and more. And I would just say, even though that definition is kind of geared toward the for-profit, all of those benefits are benefits that a nonprofit will see as well. The key, I think, the most important words there are partnership for mutual benefit. It's most important that both partners are seeing the benefit in it, and it's not, one-sided. It definitely has to be win-win. So for those of you who are thinking about embarking on a cause marketing campaign or effort, I want to talk a little bit first about what you need to consider before moving ahead with, and we'll get into what the moving ahead is as we go along in my presentation today. But for a business, and I think we have a mix in the audience of both for-profit, nonprofit, and government. So I'm going to do the best to try to address everybody's interests. But a business needs to be genuine in their intentions. So, doing something for the community, not making money, must be your first priority. The making money part will follow, but doing something good in the to be the priority. You also have to have realistic expectations. And that goes back to the, not focusing on the making money part. But also it's important to understand that things take time. It takes time to build relationships, and you're not going to see, some of the benefit right off the bat. I remember back in my days when I was first out of school and selling ad space for the Bergen Record, advertisers would wonder, why they didn't get a response when all they did was place one ad. And it was the advertisers who were consistent in their advertising and, and built a campaign that were successful and really saw the difference that advertising can make. And it's the same with this. You have to really, really focus on it and be willing to give it the time that it needs. The other, you also, for businesses, you also have to be willing to share your customers and understand the value that a charity places in their own brand and donor lists. Charities will usually not share their donor list. So if you're a restaurant that is going to have a grand opening and you want to promote that grand opening by giving the cost of the meal to a charity and attracting people to come in, you can't really expect that the charity is going to give you their donor list to do that. Now, the one thing I will say for nonprofits is, do place that value on your brand. Don't, I know, we're all going after the money all the time, but it's not, you don't want to sell your brand to the highest bidder. I had often been approached about doing, a lot of times it was for some kind of grand opening, because, we were, a small nonprofit and dealing with local businesses, and, whether it was a restaurant grand opening, or a chiropractor, or somebody that wanted to donate, wanted to promote either through advertising or an email campaign, that they were going to donate a percentage of sales to a charity in order to get people in the door. And my feeling was that there should be sort of a payment for that up front. If you're going to market your brand by using my brand, there should be a payment up front. So that's something as nonprofits that you can consider. We're going to get into this too, but I think you need to sort of sign, you need to kind of have a written understanding between the partners, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Finally, the last thing that I'm going to say is, and I guess this is probably a little bit more for the for-profits, but nonprofits as well. Be nice first. You need to develop a culture for being nice and doing the right thing in your place of business before you can look outside to partner with a charity. If you're kind of a jerk, your customers and your employees know that. So you don't want to, you want to take care of your culture internally first. There was actually a great book that I read a couple of years ago. This gentleman presented with the at a meeting of the Hackensack Chamber of Commerce, and he wrote this book called Be Nice or Else. It has absolutely nothing to do with cause marketing, but I read it, and I think it really talks about how to be nice, not only as an individual but as a company. And I think and it really just talks about developing that culture. So that would be suggested reading if you're thinking of embarking on a cause marketing campaign, and you think that your culture needs to change a little bit. So I would just say that. So let's move on to talk about who benefits from cause marketing and how. So first, of course, is the business partner, and we talked about that. And some of the benefits there are, reinforcing that be nice culture in the workplace, as you involve your employees in your cause marketing partnership. It also builds teams. It helps create an image of a good corporate citizen, both to your employees and to your customers. And it's obviously a great public relations vehicle. It also obviously benefits the charity partner. It raises awareness for the cause in general, and with potential new donors. It also helps build credibility for what you're doing as a charity or cause, and probably the most obvious, it helps raise needed funds, and those funds are often unrestricted, which those of us in nonprofit know how important those unrestricted dollars are. Finally, it also benefits the community because a cause marketing partnership can mobilize volunteers. It raises money for needed programs that are going to benefit the community, and it also reinforces that be nice culture in the community as well. Now there's there's some cause marketing vehicles that, I'm sure you're all more familiar with than others, but we'll talk about, we'll just kind of run through each of them here. Point of purchase, which is the most obvious. Some of the companies that are associated with kind of the social conscious purchases, Avon, Ben & Jerry's, Starbucks, Paul Newman's. But then there are others that are, maybe a little more directly. I mean, one of the campaigns that I love is the Tom's 1 for 1, where the second item actually goes directly to to someone in need. One of the point of purchase, I guess, campaigns that I think has gone a little crazy is something that I've heard referred to as pink washing. The month of October just goes a little crazy, and I caution a lot of people to make sure that you really understand where those dollars for that pink item are going to, because in a lot of cases it's a very, very small percentage of the purchase price, and yet these some companies are making a lot of money. So point of purchase is not is probably not as respected as it once was in terms of raising money, or as a cause marketing vehicle. Special events, a lot of every charity does special events. A lot of us have do it in terms of sponsorship and raising money through sponsorships. There are companies now that actually do cause marketing, where they sort of have created their own cause rather than partnering with a nonprofit. One example is the H&R Block's Dollars and Cents Financial Literacy Program, where they have a 10-week classroom program that gives kids an understanding of how to manage their money, and obviously someday use H&R Block to do their taxes. But they're answering, they came up with a cause that they don't really partner with a specific charity on, but they address the cause themselves. One really good example of this is something that I did when I was with United Way a number of years ago, and we always had an event every fall to kick off our annual campaign, where we would go into companies and we would have like a breakfast, and then we would send people out to from the corporations out to work at various nonprofits. And when I came on board, this was an event that cost the organization, if I remember correctly, maybe about $10,000 or $15,000. We gave all the volunteers T-shirts, we bought breakfast, sometimes we paid for a speaker, and I thought that it was, I thought there was a way we could make money on it. And we gradually developed this event so that the T-shirts that we were giving to the volunteers, all coming from various corporations, were eventually underwritten by the corporations, who were able to put their logos on the shirts. But then we expanded it to a cause marketing partnership with Garden State Plaza. Westfield had just come in at that time, and so they were looking to do to promote themselves a little bit more. And we did a really neat partnership where we worked with some of the agencies that were receiving United Way funding, and we told the stories of some of their clients through a promotional piece that highlighted various stores. So we partnered the clients from the agencies with stores at Garden State Plaza, and we did a photo shoot. So they were the models, modeling the fall fashions. We worked on this all over the summer. they produced and paid for an insert that then wound up going into the record, and that we had available for our campaign, which told the story of the work that our affiliated agencies were doing, and it promoted our kickoff event. And that event that used to cost the organization, $10,000 to $15,000, was suddenly, raising a substantial amount of money. As well as just bringing a lot of awareness to United Way. So that was a really, really nice partnership. Another, and I just touched on that a little bit in that example, but another thing is employee volunteering. Getting employees involved in with the cause as well is another vehicle. Gifts in kind, and one example I remember, we were working a number of years ago with Reckitt Benckiser, which is the makers of Lysol, and they donated Lysol to daycare centers to get their products in there, but then obviously people were using it, parents that the kids were there were seeing it, so it was certainly serving a need, but it was also a way that they could get their products out into the community. And then of course sponsorships, and that's a little bit with the special event stuff too, but it's there's a lot of different things that can be sponsored. A company can sponsor, a lecture series that a nonprofit is doing, on, mental health, or maybe a hospital is doing a thing on health and fitness, or anything like that. So there's a lot of ways that you can go about that. The one thing I would say to any business people that are on is that make the most of the sponsorship. Aside from the sponsorship fees, expect to put more money into it. All right. Okay, so how do you find the right partner? Let's first talk about a business choosing a charity partner, and the first thing to do is choose a cause. Find what kind of a difference that you want to make. What is the change that you want to see, and then look for the nonprofit partner who will help you make that change happen. When I was with United Way and I was working with the Volunteer Center, I was part, and this is going back almost 16 years ago now, but I was part of the group that developed the Business Volunteer Council. And when we started that, the first thing we did is sit down with about 5 companies that were very committed to employee volunteerism. And we tried to figure out what we wanted this Business Volunteer Council to look like. And they agreed between all of them that essentially that there was a cause that they wanted Volunteer Council around, and that was children and families, and specifically hunger and homelessness. So we chose what types of things we were going to support, and then we went and invited the organizations in our community that could fulfill those needs, and then we interviewed them to try to figure out what were the things that weren't. What were the needs that weren't being met? What were their needs? And that's how we developed, the sort of the menu that the Business Volunteer Council was going to, offer their employees. There were, we backpacks for foster kids. We read to kids at daycare centers and did a book drive. So everything was built around that. We did a summer food drive. We learned from the Center for Food Action when we met with them that they had some issues in trying to keep the pantry shelves filled during the summer when kids were out of school. So we did a summer food drive as well. So we were able to do that, and that was just a really neat experience. It's one of the things that I really look back on in my career. But we did it right. We chose the cause first, and then we looked to the agencies that could fill that need. But what they did, those businesses, they looked at their core values. What was important to their business, and I mean, a lot of times it's the CEO's favorite charity, and that is not the best way to go about it. You really have to look at, who your business is. What does your business represent? What issues are important to you? And who are your customers? And what issue or issues might you have in common with them? And a good way to do that is to ask them. Do a Survey Monkey, or have something that they can fill out either online or in your place of business, so that you can get familiar with what they care about. And then you have to think of what is the best fit for the type of business that you're in. Home Depot partners with Habitat for Humanity. That kind of makes sense. And then Avon, you think of breast cancer. A lot of Avon customers are breast cancer survivors. This might not be as good of an example, but at the time, Nike and the Lance Armstrong Foundation. When I developed for United Way the Summit, which was originally the Summit Bank Teterboro Airport 5K. It's now just the Teterboro Airport 5K presented by PSE&G. But when we first came up with the idea to do that in 1998, I was told that we could do it as long as we found somebody to pay for it. And so I had to, look for a major sponsor that could underwrite the costs and essentially get involved. And the first thing that I did is I looked down our list of board members to see if any of their companies might be a nice fit. And we had a board member with Summit Bank, and their slogan at the time was "Reach Higher." And when I thought of doing a 5K run on an airport runway, Reach Higher kind of seemed to fit. So I went and met with him, and luckily he had some discretionary money available to him that he went and signed on as our first sponsor. What was interesting about that, though, is that when I met with his marketing people to really work on promoting the sponsorship with them, the marketing person who was down in Central Jersey said, I don't know why we're doing this, because we don't really need to market ourselves like this up in Bergen County. But 3 years later, Summit was taken over by Fleet, and Fleet didn't have a presence here, and they were thrilled to be involved, and that sponsorship just continued to grow. And then 3 years after that, Bank of America came in. So, and then I think they sponsored it for 3 years, and then for whatever reason their goals changed, and then PSE&G came in as a sponsor. So, and then the other thing, the next piece of it is, okay, so you know what issues are important to you. You know where what's gonna be a good fit. So now you have to research charities. So you look at annual reports, you study their audited financials, and there are IRS 990. Look at Charity Navigator and GuideStar. take a tour, really get familiar. You want to know, you want to know that it's a good fit, and that you feel comfortable with the organization. So you want that organization that can help you get to that change that you want to see. So you're doing your research. The one thing, I'm just going to get a little commercial in here for, there is what's referred to as the overhead myth. How much a charity spends on administration and fundraising costs versus how much it goes towards program is really not considered an appropriate way to assess effectiveness. GuideStar, the Better Business Bureau, Wise Giving Alliance, and Charity Navigator are really trying to move towards an overhead solution. What you really want to be looking for when you're researching charities is who's having a real measurable impact in doing what they say they do. Okay, so for you nonprofit folks, and of course, hopefully when I was presenting on the business side of things, you also were thinking of yourself in terms of how to best present yourself to a business. So to find the right business partner, you go through a lot of the same steps. You want to let me take a step. And if you're trying to figure out, you go look at my example with Summit Bank. You try to figure out who you know. You want to go after that low-hanging fruit first. So look at what businesses are are your board members and volunteers and donors connected to. So that's the first way to kind of narrow down the list. But again, you want to, like I said, with finding a nonprofit partner, you want to, find that right mix for your organization as well. And going back to some of those examples that I mentioned with Habitat for Humanity and Home Depot and, breast cancer and Avon. When you're researching businesses, you want to do some of the same things and looking at their annual reports and just making sure that they're, doing business the way that you do and that they'll represent you well. One thing you might want to keep in mind too is what I refer to as the active community investors, and those are the companies that are already investing in their community. Somebody that has no interest is probably not the right place to start. With a partnership. And as you're building the partnerships, you invite them for a tour, have them get to know you, you want to get to know them. And just remember, this takes time. And also not every cause and every business is a good fit. So, you have to take your time and really build these relationships. So, oops, sorry. All right, so raising money through cause marketing, and I know we probably have a few more nonprofit people on the line, so you've all been anxiously awaiting this piece of the presentation. So the goal, is to turn employees into donors and to turn donors into customers. So it's so it's a two-way street. In other words, it's win-win for both the for-profit and the nonprofit. So percentage of sales promotions. That's a single product or selected items. For a designated period of time. A lot of times people do stuff with, with a special month, like Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but I cautioned you on that before. Then there's employee-focused activities and events. Participations in walkathons or fundraisers. you know, like Race for the Cure or AIDS Walk, you know, Sneakers to Work, you know, and you can create some of these things. You can work with your charity partner to create some of these things. When I was with the Record, you know, we did softball games with Z100 and WNEW where we raised money for United Way. So companies will come up with a lot of these things too. They'll create their own third-party fundraisers, you know, with all the proceeds going to the organization. You know, there's also, you know, using the kind of the United Way model, there's employee giving drives. You can also get employees to participate in marathons and half marathons. I'm a runner, so I've raised a lot of money running races and soliciting friends and family and colleagues. There's also, you know, when you're looking at these things, obviously involving employees, but you can also involve customers and donors. So, you know, you can ask them to join your team or to make a pledge if there's, you know, if you're doing a run or a walk. You know, you can invite them to participate in those third-party fundraising activities. Invite friends to do so. You know, when I was with Gilda's Club, we did a cut-a-thon, you know, where there was a local salon that donated their time, and the proceeds of people's haircuts went to, and that was 100% that people donated their time. But that was an interesting thing, and it was a way, you know, they got some people probably that came back to have their hair done there. And the other thing too is to make the most of sponsorships, and this is where, you know, it's the partnership is really important, that you work together, and you know, that not only does the for-profit not just pay the sponsorship fee and walk away, but that the for-profit really encourages them to use all the benefits of their sponsorship, and really works with them to make the sponsorship somewhat flexible, so that if for-profit is getting what they want out of the sponsorship. So you know, promote the cause and your connection to it, to employees and customers. Ask employees and customers to participate. Organize a group of employees and their family and friends to volunteer at the sponsored event. And, you know, if you're a for-profit, use all of your sponsorship benefits. If it's a dinner, fill your table and work the room. If it's a golf outing, use the foursome to schmooze customers and reward good employees. And for-profits should be encouraging, you know, the sponsorships to get used in that way, because hopefully you'll be engaging more of the right people. A couple of other suggested readings. Making money while making a difference, how to profit with a nonprofit partner, is one that I read a while back that I think is still really great. There's also on the nonprofit side, cause marketing for nonprofits, partner for a purpose, passion and profits, which is an AFP Fund Development Series book. So. So let's get into how we create long-term partnerships. Most importantly is have commitment and focus. You know, you decide on that general cause or the specific charity and really focus on it, and you know, give it the effort that it deserves. Understand your partner's needs. This goes both ways as well. You know, and you know, keep in mind that it has to be a win on both sides. So, you know, have a meeting. You know, build a relationship. I saw a quote recently that said, "Giving that big fat check to charity is a photo op, not a relationship," and that I think is so true. You know, so ask for deeper involvement. Meet regularly with your partner. Invite, nonprofits should be inviting their partner, their corporate partner on tours and to board meetings. And, the same goes for the for-profit. Invite the nonprofit people to to tour your facility, your business, and to get them to understand what it is that you do. Also, give access to each other's employees. A business's employees can serve on boards, provide professional expertise, in the areas of maybe finance and IT. When I was with United Way, we got a lot of IT support from UPS. They were a great partner with us in that regard. And a nonprofit also has something to offer to the company as well. They can do, lunch and learns in areas of their expertise, whether it's, health and nutrition or child development. That can be a real plus for a for-profit partner to be able to offer a series like that to their employees. So, and create a plan, like write it down. A cause marketing plan should be regarded like any part of a business or marketing plan. Write it down and really, think about what you want to do and, work it out with your partner. It's just as important as the business plan, and you want to look at it every once in a while and reevaluate it. Another piece too that I want to add is that with your partner, make joint announcements. Use social media. I did say that that big fat check is just a photo op. But there's a lot more things that you can do that are sort of photo ops, but are really like social media opportunities. And then you start getting, employees and customers sharing things as well. So. More suggested reading. Cause marketing, build your image and bottom line through socially responsible partnerships, programs, and events. And also cause-related marketing, who cares wins. Those are two other books that I used in my my NYU class. The other thing that I will suggest is that join the Cause Marketing Forum on LinkedIn. There's a group on LinkedIn. People are constantly sharing articles and information, and there's webinars. But there's a lot on there that you may find helpful. So. I hope, I haven't seen any questions unless I missed anything. I don't think so. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Hi.
No questions?
Mary.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we don't have any questions. That was very clear. Thank you so much for your very accurate information. That was very informative. I think that if we have any questions, I could just email you. And okay. Yeah. So the contact information is right on your screen. You can contact Mary Connolly anytime. She's available for you if you have any questions. Yeah, we'll just take a few more seconds so that way our audience can get your information. So phone number is 201. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was also going to say myself and a colleague are going to be doing a summit, a one-day summit on January 22nd at the Hilton Hasbrook Heights from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it's the secret of successful board CEO partnerships. I went through this many, many years ago and have worked with this consultant as a partner a few times since, and he's terrific. And if you are a nonprofit CEO or development director, I really urge you to participate in this with your board members. If you serve on a board, definitely let them know about it, because I think it's going to be really great. That's January 22nd.
Right. If you want to know more about the summit, the Board CEO Summit, you can email us at melissal@bergenvolunteers.org. Again, that's melissal@bergenvolunteers.org. If you have any questions about the Board CEO Summit, she can answer all those questions. So if you don't have any more questions, we'll call it a day. Thank you so much, Mary. We appreciate it. We appreciate your time, and thank you all who attended this session. Yes, so don't forget Belly Amder's presentation on January 20, 2016. The title of his presentation is called "The One Word Missing from Your Org Chart That Would Entirely Change Your Organization." So watch out for our emails. Again, thank you so much, and have a great day. Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.